How to stay fit even when you're traveling. What's up? My name is Brian Bell of Conscious Fitness, and I've helped over 100 people one-on-one transform their bodies inside of my body transformation program. So today I want to share with you the same things I share with them, especially because I am in Coweta, Costa Rica. I'm on a trip here. I'm going to be here for a month. And guess what? I'm still hitting my goals. I'm still staying fit, strong, and healthy. So let's break this down really in three major components. Today, we're going to be talking about nutrition. We're going to be talking about your training. We're also going to be talking about movement and getting your steps in. These are all important pieces, but let's start with nutrition first and foremost. So, what I would suggest when it comes to traveling and going somewhere new, especially if you've never been there before, you want to be prepared, right? A lot of times we think if we're traveling, we're going to have to be eating out all the time. We're going to be eating all this random food, which can be the case a lot of the times. But if we stay prepared before we go on the trip, it can really help. So whether your goal is to build muscle, lose body fat, or just maintain the results you have, this is super important. So the first thing I think about is when you're planning out your trip, you can definitely look at what are the restaurant options you're looking for. What are the best food choices you can get? Now, me being plant-based and vegan, I'm definitely gonna be looking for those vegan choices when I'm out. And now, depending where I'm gonna be in the world or in the country, for example, I'll have different opportunities. So right now in Costa Rica, fortunately, there's a lot of rice and beans around, there's vegetables, there's lots of fruit. So that makes things a little easy. But because I know that I like to have a high protein diet, that might make things a little more challenging when I'm traveling, right? So that's where we go into this next little bit. When we understand where we're going to be, what choices we do have available, whether we're looking at restaurants or looking at grocery stores and seeing what's available to cook, we also want to look at what we can bring with us. So on this trip, I brought a few major things that have really seriously helped me out so much. Number one is going to be protein powder. So me having my own protein powder that I enjoy, even though I can get it here. It's funny, I'm in a super small town, but I can still get like soy protein here in the store, which is awesome. But I bring my own protein powder. I put it in a big Ziploc bag. Um, Goes through the airport, no problem, totally fine. And now I've got my protein shake. So cool, that's going to give me that solid base of nutrition every single day to make sure I'm getting enough protein. The second thing that I actually brought on this trip would be textured pea protein. So I'm bringing textured pea and textured soy-based protein, which is basically like a dehydrated protein source. So all I have to do is rehydrate it with some hot water, and boom, I'm able to add in 15, 20 grams of protein to any of these restaurant meals that might be lacking. Now, if you've seen any of my content before about, how to get enough protein on a vegan plant-based diet, I generally recommend making meals with two protein sources. So a lot of times, it's going to be hard to go out somewhere and find, tofu at a restaurant or to find, tempeh, especially here, this part of the world. So what I've been doing is some of those meals when I'm out, I bring a little bit of that TVP and I will just get a little hot water. Next thing you know, I've got an extra 15 grams added to my meal. So if I'm doing rice and beans and vegetables, then everything is pretty much good at that point. I'm able to get a complete protein meal without really stressing exactly where I need to be. Because technically speaking, I could get that rice and beans and vegetables at pretty much any of these restaurants, right? So that's kind of the way I think about it. Now, the second piece of it is ideally you will be cooking, right? So if we look at it like that, if you are okay, if you're in a situation where you can cook, then that's going to save you the most, right? Because when you're on a trip, when you're on a vacation, the biggest challenge is eating out and being, almost tempted by all the choices that are available. So anytime you go to a restaurant, there's higher calorie foods because they're using oil, they're using salt, they're using sugar. There are also lots of drinks, you know what I mean? So drinks can add up on calories super quickly. So what you want to do is cook as much as you can. So having an idea of really just finding that first grocery store and just browsing the store, seeing what's available. And I'm just like blown away because again, I'm in this very small town on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. Yet there's a grocery store here where I can get, my almond milk. There's actually almond milk with soy protein added to it. So it's an extra protein boost. They've got tofu available. It's in like a shelf stable pack, but it's still really good. I've got my black beans, I've got lentils, I've got, let's see, even have textured vegetable protein. They also even had Beyond Burgers at this store. So I'm not a big fan of like fake meats at all, but just knowing that it's available, like that's pretty cool. So I was able to get some pea protein, like some TVP burger patties, like that are made here in Costa Rica that are just shipped over to this area. And I mean, like I pretty much have a lot of the same sources. Now, I'm fortunate because this is a nice grocery store where they import a lot of products and things, but some of these things are made locally. So if I can do it here in Costa Rica, if you're just traveling within your own country, like you could definitely do it, right? So again, we're looking at what are the restaurants, what are the options available before we even go on the trip to plan out where we're at. Like I was just talking to one of my clients and she's going to be in Puerto Rico for 3 days. So the strategies that we had in place, very similar to what I'm talking about here. Do some research on the resort you're going to be at or the Airbnb you're going to be at, and then what other options are available, whether it's restaurants nearby or grocery stores. And I'm having her call ahead to the restaurants if she doesn't see vegan meals on the menu, because they might actually be able to make those for her, right? So you can check out the menus, you can call in advance, you could see what options are available for you. Because the truth of it is, guys, if you want to, remain fit, strong and healthy, or you're still trying to reach a goal, like right now, I'm in a bit of calorie deficit goal, just lean up as much as possible. And I'm able to do that here, where a lot of people would think that's impossible. Like you can't travel and be vegan. You can't, get fit. You can't like stick to your plan while you're traveling in a whole new country. You certainly can, but it comes down to making a decision first and foremost, right? If we do not decide that we want this, then yes, the external environment, all these choices, the temptations, the restaurant options, they're all going to just kind of overwhelm us. And we're just going to say, yeah, okay, cool, I'll buy that, I'll get this. Next thing you know, you come back home, you're an extra 5 pounds, right? And then you have to redo that work. So this whole thing is about creating a lifestyle where we can integrate your long-term health and fitness goals with your current reality where you are, whether you're traveling or on a trip or a vacation, right? So again, summing up food, if we think about what food can I bring, and that could be also some protein-based snacks, right? Like, so you could do, roasted edamame, you can do nuts and seeds that you can bring with you. All of those higher protein options are going to be key, because then when you get to your local environment, you're basically looking at your meals, your protein shakes, and then for snacks and things like that, there's going to be local produce, local fruit available. So you don't have to worry about that. And that's just another side piece to this. When I think about snacking and having those things available, I like to just focus on fruits. I'll have a little dark chocolate or maybe some PB Fit. Oh, that's another one I brought. I brought a big Ziploc bag of PB Fit, which is powdered peanuts. So now I'm able to just have this nice lower calorie, higher protein peanut butter that I'll get with apples and make that as a snack. So that's how you want to approach your nutrition. Plan out where you're going to be, look for the restaurant options available, see what grocery stores are available, and see what things you can bring from your current lifestyle or diet or grocery store that you can then bring with you. That's like a dry, shelf stable good. Now, the second component we want to talk about is going to be resistance training, right? So we want to make sure we're still training. Now, I didn't even realize this. I've been here in Kawita for, this is my 7th day so far. I didn't even realize there is technically a gym across the highway over there. And apparently it's a nice gym. Only one around for sure. But as you guys may or may not know, it's a, it's a cool dirt bike right there. But as you guys may or may not know, I specifically focus on body weight training. So what I did, I just brought my gymnastic rings with me and I'm pretty much good to go anywhere. So what I found is I have this nice little pavilion right here. I've hung up my rings and I've been able to get workouts in full body right here. Don't have to go anywhere. And I'm walking distance to this place, right? Now, when you look at it like that and you understand, well, guess what? Let's just say you do go to a gym and you're normally in the gym. Well, this might be a situation where you might have to work out either in a hotel room, in your Airbnb, outside at a park. Perhaps you can find a gym to go by and get a day pass, right? But let's just say you don't have time. Well, guess what? You wake up. I always tell some of my clients, if you can't get a full workout in, just get some push-ups, get some squats in at the bare minimum, because now you're doing two of the major movement patterns that are just essential, right, for your strength and keeping your muscle mass up. So we want to keep the resistance training going, even if you have to like lighten it up a little bit. You might not be able to do your same routine, but what matters the most is if your schedule is like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is you still stick and adhere to that schedule. You show up on Monday, you do the best workout you can with the time and the place you have available. Same thing Wednesday and Friday. And that consistency is going to be the key to, we're not doing resistance training just to burn calories, right? We're resistance training to build muscle and strength and bone density, right? So when we stick with that same schedule we've been doing, guess what? We're not losing momentum. We're keeping it. So we want to let go of the idea of perfection of like, well, I have to do the exact same schedule that I do at home. I have to, where's my equipment? Where are my dumbbells? It's okay, man. There's benches over here. There's so many different things. There's actually a set of monkey bars up here. So I didn't even realize that till the other day. But I could do my pull-ups and all my hanging work there, and I can do some more accessory stuff with the rings to make it more intense. So technically, I don't even have to bring my rings out here. I just find a little, set of monkey bars, for example. So that's the way we want to approach that. Again, at least doing squats, push-ups. You guys are interested in like a full body workout routine, I'll put a link in the description for my at-home workout guide. So if you're transitioning from like, what do I do if I'm, normally at the gym? How do I do this at home? I got you. We just focus on some of the major functional movement patterns and figure out what body weight exercises will work best for you. So that's going to be the second key, right? Resistance training to make sure you're still promoting that muscle and strength growth. Now, let's talk about the third piece. The biggest other factor when we think about you have your nutrition, then on the other side, you have movement and you have ways to burn calories. The third piece is going to be steps, getting your steps in, getting your walking in. Now, for some of us, we might like running, we might like cycling. I absolutely love riding my bicycle. I just currently don't have one here. I mean, I could have rented one if I really wanted to, but I've been walking around this town every single day. So believe it or not, my step goal is 10K a day. I've gotten 10, I've gotten 11, I've gotten 12. Not having a bicycle, not having a car here has made it kind of fun because, this is a pretty small town. There's probably about six square blocks within this little town. So I've walked around this place and I've seen every little corner of it within the last week. I've been here a couple times over the last couple years, but this is my first time staying here. But I will wake up, I'll go on my walk, and I will just, I'll take phone calls on the walk. I will just go wake up in the morning, you can go hit the beach, wherever you're at, just making sure you're still sticking to your step goal. So why is that important? When we look at your calorie intake as your baseline, this is the amount of food, nutrition you're bringing into your body. Of course, that's the most important thing. That's why I started with that as number one. We know that's essential to keep that stable, right? Which is why we want to cook as much as we can. We want to plan out in advance the meals we're going to get at the restaurants, and then we're going to bring those extra items and those protein sources with us on the trip in advance. Then when we think about the other side of this equation with your metabolism, with how your body responds to weight gain or weight loss, that's where we need to look at the movement. So your most important thing to focus on is getting your steps. So if your goal is 7,000 a day, when you're on your trip, you want to get that 7,000 a day. And I will even do this at a hotel. Just 2 weeks ago, I was up in Maryland visiting family, and it's freezing up there. Here I am. This is January, and like it's perfect weather, about 80 degrees every day, right? Don't even have to wear a shirt. It's super great. That's my type of vibe. But up in Maryland, where I'm originally from, it was like 30 degrees, all of that. So what did I do? Well, oh, and this is kind of funny too. We had a flight get delayed and then eventually canceled. So I had to get a hotel, and then I had to wake up the next day and stay there pretty much all day until the next flight took off. So what did I do? I just walked around the hotel. There was about 5 floors. I just got on the stairs, walked across one floor, got on the stairs, walked across the other, came up and down, back and forth. And I was able to get my 10K steps, right? And so when you just have that focus, you just decide like, okay, I'm going to do it. No matter what the variables are, you can stick with it. You can find a way. And what's so great about this, guys, is when you put yourself in a situation where you feel like you might not be able to do it, like, oh my God, I'm traveling, I got to go on this work trip and I'm going to be here in this new environment and I'm not going to be able to stick to my plan. But if you actually go and you do a little bit of preparation beforehand, like I mentioned with the foods, you stick to resistance training on the scheduled days you normally do, but just adjust it whether you have a hotel gym or whether you have to work out in the hotel room, or you can go outside And then as far as steps, making sure you still hit that step goal. Once you do those 3 things and you actually put yourself in that position, I mean, it's gonna be like a light bulb moment because you realize, "Oh my god, like, this is sustainable. Like, I can do this wherever I am," because you have a set framework to run off of, right? Again, it starts with the decision because it could be very easy for me to say, "Oh, I'm in a new country. I'm just gonna, wine and dine myself. I'm gonna get all the best foods." Like, when I go to the restaurant, I'm not gonna pick the highest protein, lowest calorie choices. I'm gonna pick, "Oh, that one looks really good," or I'm gonna get all the smoothies with all the peanut butter added to it, and I'm gonna get, the big plate, and all of this with all the different things that aren't really good for me that I normally don't eat. And that can be hard, right? Because a lot of times, if it is a vacation compared to just like a travel trip where maybe it's an obligation like work or something, you might want to let go. You might want to let your hair down and experience more of the foods and things. And you can still do that, right? But we want to keep the framework in mind of, we have a calorie goal, we have a protein goal, we have a goal on resistance training, we have a goal for our steps. So when you get through that process and actually show up and do these things, when you leave and you come back home, you're like, "Oh my god, like, I can do this anywhere." Like, this is a lifestyle. This doesn't have to be this thing that I'm trying so desperately hard to integrate in my life. This is just the way I am. This is the way I choose to be. That's the key. That's the key to make this a long-term sustainable lifestyle, is just decide this is who you are. Switching from the identity of the person that travels and is overwhelmed and, has to stress eat and doesn't want to work out because, well, what's the point? I don't have a gym. We got to figure out what those subconscious thoughts are that are in the way and reframe them. And hopefully this video, I showed you how simple it actually can be, because here I am 7 days in this country. I'm going to be here for another 3 weeks. Guess what, guys? I'm going to be doing the same stuff, right? Eating really well. I'm having my protein every day. If I do have to eat out, I'm making the best choice as far as lowest calories, highest amount of protein, the most amount of complex carbs, getting in a lot of fruit every day, and I'm focusing on my steps. I'm focusing on my training. It's the same thing I normally do back home in Florida, except I'm in a brand new environment. Because I can use my body and I can use my mind to make the right choices for foods, I will win and I get to stay looking and feeling great, right? So that's exactly what I want for you guys. So if you found this video super helpful, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe to my channel for more, and let me know what questions you have, what other videos you'd like to see. But much love. I'm Brian Bell, founder of Conscious Fitness, and I'll see you on the next one.